Fine. Masters Friday morning by Ben Rasa. How you doing, Ben?
I'm all right. Yeah, you said it. Masters Friday. So it's going to be certainly one of the bigger cut sweats, even though it's only 87 guys. We got a lot of people in the midst. We're going to talk about that, but a great week. It is always such a fun golf tournament.
Yeah, that's for sure. And obviously, don't blame me if you have one eye looking at the
It's true.
golf as it's happening right now. But wanted to touch on a few things, then we'll get into the Masters. We usually do kind of a week in review segment. Obviously, we had the national championship game on Monday night. We haven't talked since then. Before the tournament, you and I both had Virginia. I don't feel great about Virginia, but I'm never going to say, it didn't earn a win here. What did you think about that game? Obviously, Virginia's path these last 2, 3, 4 games was pretty insane.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Obviously, I was rooting for Virginia, and they were fortunate. There's no doubt. But I'll say this: it's a single elimination tournament. You're gonna catch breaks. That's if you run it again, other teams would catch breaks. That's what happens when you don't play series. So, wild games. I was happy for them. They made it maybe harder than they needed to. It was, yeah, great game. I mean, at them and Texas Tech certainly both worthy to get there, and what a redemption story. Obviously, it was pretty crazy. From it just shows the variance. To lose to a 16, win the whole thing. That's what you get when you play a single game series.
Yeah, I can't imagine a wider range of outcomes from one
Nope.
season to the next, right? It's not even really feasible, I guess, outside of just losing every game the season before. But I would argue this is even a harder path going from losing to the 16th seed to taking it down the next year. Just an incredible run. Like you said, so much variance in game to game. And, they caught some breaks. Arguably they caught some breaks from the officials. And look, you still have to take advantage of those breaks. And, guy hit the free throws. There's just certain
Yeah,
instances where,
that was.
yeah.
Whew. Yeah, yeah. Like I said, it's an interesting thing just because obviously we're going to be talking more, professional playoffs. It just shows the difference of, the hockey and the NBA are getting underway. You catch a crazy game like that, you regroup and you play game two or you play game five. It's such a different animal when you're trying to win 4 out of 7 rather than it's, winner take all.
Yeah, there's no question. So that's a good segue. I figured NHL we maybe get into next week. We could bring on one of our hockey guys a little bit more
Definitely.
knowledgeable than probably you and me, at least for this season.
Yeah, no. I did watch the Flames last night, who looked very sharp. But yeah, we will absolutely get in. I love the hockey playoffs. One of my favorite things. But
Yeah, same.
yeah,
Same. I know we were talking that both of our teams had a pretty unfortunate season, so it's a little
yeah,
bit less interesting for you and I with the Rangers and the Blackhawks.
certainly down years for your
Yeah.
boys. But no, we'll see. Lightning. The only thing I want to say is the Lightning, who they may be one of the best, points wise, one of the best teams ever this year. They're up 3-0 in the game one, lost at home 4-3. They play tonight. Obviously, they're heavy favorite. It would be a true stunner to see them go down 0-2 at home against the Blue Jackets. So we'll see if they rebound tonight. That's going to be the game that I certainly want to see.
Yeah, like you said, they're still a big favorite. Certainly in the NBA, we'll talk about it maybe in the next couple of weeks. There's a zigzag theory where the lines don't necessarily move that much from game to game, but the gameplay changes, and often the team who loses game one comes out, and plays much better game two, and you kind of get this zigzag with the underdog covering in game two. I know that's a theory that a lot of people subscribe to. So just looking at kind of the NBA series, kind of transitioning here to NBA, are there any series, I guess, prices that jump out to you, or any series that are particularly interesting? I mean, often the first round isn't that exciting, but I think we have a couple decent matchups here.
Yeah, obviously in the NBA, not to go back to hockey, but like one seeds, we've seen it before. Blackhawks come to mind when the Predators swept them and they were the 8 seed. In the NBA, it's a little different. Obviously, like the Warriors series price it's like minus 10,000.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. But some of these other series did catch my eye. The one that stood out, not even from a betting standpoint, I think the Jazz and the Rockets certainly could go the distance. Rockets have home court, but the Jazz, that's a tough out for them. And then I'll mention one more and I'll pass it to you. And this is more of a long shot. You got the Magic; they're about plus 700 against the Raptors. Scrappy team. Not saying they can take down the series, but at the same time, I don't think they get swept. I could see this ending in 6, maybe even 7.
That's an interesting one. That's one that I hadn't really looked at. The East, I kind of abandoned, and I don't
Fair
see a
enough.
ton of value in the first round. I mean, you have the top four seeds pretty entrenched. I mean, the only team that I could see really putting up a fight will be the Pacers.
Hmm.
And obviously since Depot went down, they've just not been the same. They had a stretch where they were playing really well and efficiently, uh, but the Celtics, I think, have started maybe to turn it around a little bit. They're kind of dark horse to me, which seems crazy to say, but like Hayward's playing a little bit better, obviously with Kyrie and their young guys who played well last year. It's a team. I'm not going to bet anything today. It's something we'll keep an eye out on. As the playoffs progress, and often you can get better value. Betting game by game, or later in the series, if they were to lose game one, for example, to the Pacers, I'm pounding the Celtics to win the series.
The Celtics is funny. I'm actually with you. They're one of the teams I think benefits the most from 4 out of 7. Brad Stevens, obviously incredible coach. And
Yeah.
they're just a team. I know they haven't had the best season in terms of expectations. I think in this type of setting, though, where they're seeing the same opponent, multiple times, obviously in a row, they're going to be a very difficult out. I think that they certainly live to come out of the East, but I'm telling you, the Magic. Not that they're going to knock off the Raptors, but scrappy team. I thought it was pretty impressive that they won that division. The Heat, Hornets right on their tails. Obviously Vooch is a problem, but a decent cast around him. So that's a young, hungry team. We'll see. Obviously the West has, you look at these matchups: Jazz, Rockets, Thunder, Blazers.
Yeah.
These are tough series. Blazers were a team I was really high on. Obviously Nurkic, that hurts. And I don't think drawing Westbrook and Paul George is the best spot. Is there a particular matchup in the West that kind of caught your eye?
You just hit on the one that I'm really narrowing in on. It is, OKC in Portland. Everybody has written off Portland. I'm a big Russell Westbrook fan, and I like the Thunder a lot. But this has swung completely 180 the other way, and I see a lot of value in Portland. You're not getting a great price. You're getting a plus for the series. It's not a great price. It's like plus 115. You could probably get better betting game to game, or once they lose game one. That's kind of a strategy I like to use when I think an underdog has a legitimate chance, or conversely, when a favorite loses game one, you're not going to get as good of a price. But somebody like Portland is a team that I really like. Nurkic, obviously, like you said, is a huge loss. Cantor is not going to fill that void. They have a bunch of other bigs who can fill in for 10, 12 minutes. Not going to fill that void. But I think what they can do is put enough bodies down low against Adams and at least slow him down. So really, it kind of comes down to me, Paul George's health. We've heard a lot about his shoulder, and he's not been playing as efficiently or really as well these last couple months. If that injury really lingers or affects his play, I don't know. I think Portland has a decent chance to win this series, and because everybody's writing them off, that really makes me like them a little bit more. I like to go contrarian with a lot of game to game bets, and even on series bets where the public is really weighing in, especially on the NBA playoffs. You're going to get a lot of public action. So I'll probably put a little bit on Portland. Like I said, I may wait to see what happens game one, because I think you can get, Portland wins game one, then obviously I'm not going to be able to get a good price. But I definitely want to look at that series a little bit closer. And the other one too is, you also mentioned, is Houston and Utah. That's another series that I think will go 6 or 7 games, which you said. It comes down to, for me, whether Gobert can stay on the floor, or is Houston just going to run and play so quick that he just can't guard Capella, and Capella is going to bring him out to the 3-point line, and then he's just kind of lost, and you lose his value as that anchor on defense. But those are the two series that I think I'm looking at the most. The other two, I think, are just going to be blowouts. I don't know. I could be convinced that the Spurs can hang around, but I really like Denver.
Yeah.
So how about you?
Obviously, the Warriors, I think we all know what's going to happen there. The Nuggets, and I think this is becoming the popular narrative around them. I assume that they can get past the Spurs, but just in a long term view, they just seem a little too young. Next year, maybe in the following year, it has all the makings of them going down to maybe the Rockets is someone who's kind of been through the battles a little more. So I would love to see them make a run. I'm not sure again in 4 out of 7 format where the defense cranks up, the coaching, the games are a little slower. I have a feeling that one of the more kind of veteran Western Conference team kind of ends that team before they get started this year.
Yeah, yeah, I'm really high on them, but I agree. They don't have much experience in the playoffs. They're really young. I love Jokic, I love Murray, I love a bunch of guys that they bring off the bench. But yeah, I'll be looking at that series, right? The Spurs just always are going to have that strategic edge, and I really like their style in that they're going to slow it down. Denver wants to run and shoot threes and play in transition, and the Spurs, kind of don't. Like they want Aldridge to, set up in the paint, and it's kind of an older style, almost like a throwback style with the Spurs, and obviously with Popovich. You have to give them the coaching edge there. Even though I think Malone is actually a disciple Popovich, but that's an interesting series. One thing I was looking at too, Ben, want to get your thoughts on this. So the way it shook out is that Houston ended up as the 4 seed. So you can wager on the team to make the conference finals. So that leaves the other side of the West bracket, I mean, essentially wide open. I mean, Denver is the favorite of all those other teams remaining. Portland, I'm seeing at plus 450. The Spurs are 7-1. OKC is plus 270. You could find some value here. Again, this team has to win 2 series, and you could probably just get better prices throughout. So I'm not crazy about these numbers, but just something that was interesting given the way that Houston and Golden State have to play each other in the second round.
Yeah, that was something. Obviously, Portland at the end there was juggling. I think that teams don't, maybe behind the scenes they do. I just sometimes don't understand why teams don't realize that it's okay to tailor your edge there at the end to make sure you get the right path. Like there's no reason to go on the wrong side of a bracket if you can avoid it with a simple resting of players late. So that's a huge edge. Obviously, to me, the Spurs are far and away the least likely. The other 3 are certainly live. I would lean to the winner of the Blazers Thunder opening series. I think whoever comes out of that will beat the Nuggets, to be honest. But yeah, again, that's where you got to examine the price and then try to conceptually think, okay, is it better to kind of roll this over in terms of take the first series, take the second series, or wager it all up front if you think you can create some value there?
Yeah, and certainly you would have, I mean, clearly some hedging opportunities throughout. If you did, for example, like Portland, I'm seeing plus 450 to make the conference finals. If you think they have a chance to win against OKC, which I do, and then, against Denver, which I also think they do, they're going to be dogs in both series. You're not going to get plus 450, but you just have more opportunities to bet on them, up to that point.
Yeah.
But certainly no harm in locking something in. I may take a little shot at that now that I'm looking at it a little closer. Any thoughts? I mean, is there any value anywhere else to win it all outside of Golden State?
The only team that and again, this isn't, I think that the Celtics would be the team if I couldn't choose the Warriors. The East there's obviously a top heavy bunch, but it's wide open in my opinion.
Yeah.
Sixers, we'll see what's up with Embiid. Obviously the Raptors, very good. The Bucks, outstanding. I wouldn't be stunned to see any of them. I just don't see any team that can beat the Warriors in the whole league, but especially in the West. At least if you can get to the finals, you can maneuver a little bit, and we'll see. There's always a chance that someone knocks off Golden State beforehand, and then look at, you're getting a ton of value. You could be the favorite in the finals. But it's just, again, if this was March Madness, you could say one game, you never know.
But
to beat them 4 out of 7 is such a tall task.
It's such a tall task. I guess I should ask you if there's anyone you like to win the East. Obviously, you have these top 4 teams that are it's really top heavy. Nobody is getting more than 3-1 to win the conference. The Bucks, obviously everybody loves the Bucks and Giannis. They have a bunch of injuries. I think that's going to be limiting, certainly to some degree. Um, I guess another, going back to just talking about, just jumping around back to the Warriors. I know that the Bucks and the Raptors would have home court against Golden State for whatever that's worth. I'm not sure that's worth much, to be honest, but just something to think about if you do like Toronto or Milwaukee to come out of the East and give the Warriors a shot at it, that it's a little bit extra value there. I'm seeing Toronto 10-1, Milwaukee 7-1 to win it all. It's not great odds considering Golden State's such a big favorite, but it's
It's
more if you want to sweat.
Yeah, I mean, you can survive. Yes, I mean, for me, I would take again. I see Celtics at 17-1 where I'm looking right now. Not
Mm-hmm.
awful. If you think they can get there, if no matter who the team is, if they run into Golden State, I think it's going to be a big problem, obviously. But at least there, again, you have some maneuverability, and I I really don't mind taking a stab with one of the Eastern teams and say, hey, I'm going to give, obviously, Golden State's not going to lose in the first round, but I'm going to give the Rockets and another team two chances to take out the Warriors. And if they do, then the league's wide open. I think everyone would admit that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good strategy right there. We'll talk about this a lot over the next few weeks, and certainly in the middle of a series, you can find some pretty great value. Like I was talking about, if a team you like loses game one, you can pounce on them. But certainly, next Friday, we'll have at least, I don't know, what, 2-3 games under our belt on each
Mm-hmm.
series. We'll have a sense as to how the teams are looking, how these matchups are shaking out. I think we'll be able to. I think we'll be able to find some value next week, or at least I'm hopeful we'll be able to find something, that we can dig into next week. But NBA playoffs, it just, obviously this is such a great time of year. NBA playoffs starting, and of course we'll transition into the Masters. It's the best weekend of the year, arguably, with the Masters going on. What were your thoughts, I guess, just on day one in general? With some of the crazy outcomes.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, not a great day for me, obviously, but that neither here nor there. It was stunning to see. Paul Casey obviously stood out, shot 81.
Yikes.
Um, and it is to be expected. This isn't like a U.S. Open, but at the same time, if you don't have your stuff here, especially around the green and putting, you could be three putting all over. It can get away from you a bit. Uh, late in the day, Brooks. It was funny. So my first thoughts was early in the day there was 10 guys at -3, and it was like, wow, this is going to be bunched. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, kind of Brooks and Bryson they broke out a bit. Uh, I think looking ahead kind of to what we're talking about, live betting and what you see, this is the kind of course it does seem you want to hold on. And then if you can get through Amen Corner, you got 13 and 15, which are the two par fives, and you can start scoring in a hurry. So, there were a lot of guys yesterday that, oh, they're not doing much. And then you look up and they're 3 or 4 under. I think that's the way to go here. You hang on, you post, see what's what. And then Sunday's still lurking. We're looking at 30, 35-mile-an-hour winds, possibly rain. That's going to change the whole dynamic of where you really want to be going into that.
Yeah, that's something that you had told me about a couple of days ago. That Sunday was looking really iffy just on the weather front, and something that I've been trying to, look at a little bit deeper. Trying to find that style of golfer who can scramble and kind of get through that inclement weather. But like you said, yesterday, like I looked away like later in the day, and all of a sudden Phil was at the top of the
Yeah.
leaderboard. Brooks made a run. Like you're talking about, once they get through Amen Corner. Uh, like Ron played earlier, but just some of the guys who played later in the day seemed to just kind of pull away towards the end of the day. DeChambeau was playing really well. I guess looking at value to win it all, is there anybody who's jumping out?
Uh,
You have a lot of the favorites, but then maybe more like in the 20 or 30-1 ish range, or anybody you like?
there's some guys, obviously we're so early, we're just getting underway, but someone who with a decent start that hasn't jumped out. I kind of like that Brooks and Bryson darted out, and they're really taking the odds with them to an extent. But someone like Ricky, who I thought
Yeah.
started fine, he got in, and then again he's getting, I don't want to say overlooked, but the story wasn't him just because of those other guys. He's in it, shot 72 under yesterday. Tiger's in that same boat. I'm not really looking to go to Tiger. I thought he played very well, though. But Ricky was the guy that I have no problem with. Rory's lurking. He needs a bigger day, though. He did not play well yesterday. There's no reason he can't come out and fire 68, 67 and, get in the mix. He'll be a handful of shots at least off the lead. But that's the area that I'm kind of focused in is, 5-6 shots off the lead starting today. You can certainly make up that ground in a hurry.
Yeah, for sure. Are there any of the guys who really struggled yesterday, do you think have a shot? No, I know some of them have already started. So, like Hideki or like Justin Thomas, Justin Rose.
So the guy that, and maybe it's that I'm going to go down with my ship here. Justin Rose to me is someone there's nothing that would have, for me, seen that coming yesterday. I was stunned how poorly he played. But I would be even more stunned if he doesn't at least get back not into contention maybe, but into the thick of it. He was 2 under early today, gave 1 back. But I expect him to shoot around in the 60s today. And you never know. You never know where that ends up. If he's only 7-8 shots off the lead, you're going to get a huge number on him. And there's no reason. We've seen time and time again. The Open Championship comes to mind. He made not a long putt, but a tough putt on 18 on Friday to make that cut on the number. And then on Sunday, he was right there. It can happen. So he's the one guy I think from the way back I don't mind.
He's a guy that I like a lot, and it seemed like he was really out of sort yesterday. Even just his body language was.
I almost thought he was hurt.
Could be.
No indication of that. He just looked out of it almost.
Looked off, yeah.
So I was really happy. I thought, not that, he's never missed the cut here, literally ever. I was happy to see him get out. He birdied 1, he birdied 2. So I think that's comforting to see at least. Okay, he's all right. We'll see what he can do today. Again, another guy. I would love to see him 2 under going through Amen corner and then boom, get a couple. You got eagle opportunities. You can post 4 or 5 under and get yourself right back in this tournament.
Yeah, I'm in a Masters pool where you have to pick a player from each tier of players, and tier 1 had like 12 players in it, and obviously it's all the top players, and I was one of I think 5 or 6 people out of over 100 who picked Justin Rose. So I felt pretty good about being contrarian with him, but then it would help if he played well for me. So I'm definitely rooting for Justin to turn it around today.
Oh, me too. Yeah, he was certainly one of my favorites on DraftKings. But this is a tournament, again, I know, and I'm guilty of it too. Our producer behind the glass, our man Josh, heard me ranting before the show about, oh my God, what an awful start. It's okay. You got to if you're Paul Casey, yeah, you've got serious problems. But if you're a couple over, if you're a quality player, you should be able to get back in this championship, barring, if Bryson goes out and shoots 66, more credit to him. He's going to put a lot of pressure on the rest of the field. But, that's a tough task. So these leaders, if they even if they shoot in the 70s, even 1 or 2 under, obviously they'll be sitting 8-ish, 9-ish. That's not insurmountable with how fast you can go backwards here. And again, not that you don't want to be leading after 54 holes, but my God, if you're in that final group, there's a very real chance that you see conditions that are absolutely brutal, whereas guys who are 4 or 5 shots back can post, and you're going to be forced to kind of play keep away and survive.
Yeah, the Sunday is going to be really interesting, especially if it's anything like what we think it's going to be weather-wise. I'm looking here. I see the projected cut is +3 right now, which for me, having a lot of Hideki and DraftKings makes me smile, but he hasn't even started yet. So did you think he looked lost yesterday? Does he have a chance to turn it around? I'm hoping you say yes.
Jason Day 2 under. See, there's one. He's up to -4 with his broken back. Decky, we see him time and time again. Seems to be, when he gets off track, it's like, how is this guy a world-class player? And then when he's on, he looks like maybe the best player in the world. Early in that round, he was finding bunkers on bunkers, and that's just not his game. He needs to hit greens, lean on the irons. So I think he can, get in contention. That's a really big ask. He has to go crazy low, but I would hope that he, breezes through this cut and get to the weekend. It's very easy for a guy like that. You look up and he comes in 12th and you live to fight another week.
Yeah. I just want him to get to the weekend at this point. It make
Yep.
me happy. Uh,
Yeah, that's
Certainly
really the
biased.
key. Saturday too. Not to lean on the weather too hard, but it looks like the calmest day of the four.
Hmm.
So another guy, Decky goes out. Say he's in the second group off because he makes the cut on the number. If you fire 65, boom, and then the wind picks up in the afternoon. You never know where you're going to land. So you
Yeah.
don't want to be in that position, but these guys, especially big names, they can make up so much ground because they can go so low. Uh, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's for sure. Are there any, I don't know if you've looked at any of just kind of the matchups, the round, a lot of people have already teed off today, but there's a certain amount of round two matchups. I don't know if you've
Mm-hmm.
seen anything that jumped out to you. I looked at it kind of briefly. I had a few that kind of caught my eye, but the time frame to get these kind of bets in is obviously very, it's a tight window here. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
I mean, my favorite started. I bet Rose this morning against Phil.
nice.
I thought that Rose would kind of get back into it, but looking now, a guy Brandon Grace, he's playing beer guard today.
Hmm.
Quiet yesterday. I see it. It's almost around pick him -115 for Grace. Uh, Beergard, incredible, very aggressive off the tee. If the wind picks up and it's more of that grinded out style, that's really for Grace and not him. I think ideal scoring conditions favor Beergard, but I have a feeling it plays a little tougher today, especially in the afternoon. So that's one guy that I kind of lean to in that head to head. And then kind of on the same notion, it's not that Usti has shown he can scramble, but I like Leishman in that matchup. Just a guy that he just does his thing. I thought he let it get away a little at the end there.
Yeah.
He was hovering around, could have shot 2-3 under, I thought, and it didn't get there. But I have a feeling that Leishman again puts a quality round together, and Usti's the type of guy he could go out and shoot 8 under today. There's no doubt. But he's so polarizing. If he does that, you kind of have to live with it. I think I'm pretty confident where Leishman plays today. He's going to play fine. And I'll take my chances with avoiding one of the Usti crazy rounds, and I don't basically a toss up type of line.
Yeah, I saw too. Leishman against Charlie Hoffman was, Leishman's a very short favorite in that one too. I agree with you. I like his chances a lot today. I like his style of
Yep.
play. It fits Masters course really well. He was cruising yesterday and gave a couple back towards the end, but from what I saw, I like the way he was striking the ball. So Leishman was a guy
Okay.
that I was looking at. So I like that I'm on the same page with you
Yeah.
on that.
Leishman. He
What do you?
just go ahead.
I was just going to say, what do you think about Gary Woodland? I know he came out and shot really well yesterday. He's a guy that I've liked, just looking at matchups where he's a dog against Tommy Fleetwood and Xander. What do you think about Woodland?
I thought not to make one too big of one shot, but he was playing fantastic, and he was in huge trouble on 18, made a very clutch bogey putt to post. I think that's actually a momentum carrier. So he's a guy coming in. I think a lot of people, including me, you see his Masters history and you don't get it because his game really suits this course. Very aggressive off the tee, has plenty of length, and he had 3 straight missed cuts here. So I don't mind that. I prefer him against Xander. I think Fleetwood is someone, not that I'm super high on, but I'm not low on him either. I just think he kind of is doing his thing. Xander's a guy that, a very good driver of the ball, but the rest of the game, again, if it plays a little tougher, I can take Woodland there, especially if you're getting plus on the matchup.
Yeah, that was one getting plus that kind of jumped out to me just
Mm-hmm.
for that fact. I like that. Anybody else, I guess, who's sticking out to you as maybe some value, whether that's to win the tournament or on the matchup front? Obviously it's early on Friday. We only have one round in the books, but anybody you like, maybe on the long shot side, I mean, who has a chance? How about Bubba? What do you think about my guy Bubba?
Bubba, let's see. Where is he? I saw he was
Even.
Yeah, he's even. He just gave one back. Poor Bubba. I don't think that the conditions on Sunday make me
That's gonna hurt for him.
very, very scared of Bubba. I'm not gonna lie. Honestly, I mean, we just talked about him, and this is again, you're talking a very, very long shot. But I think that Leishman, if you want to say Sunday could be such a crazy day, is the type of golfer who could go out on Sunday and shoot 69 when the scoring average is 76. And he could be 4 or 5 shots off the lead and post. I like his game in that kind of environment. He's not a high octane scorer, but he's a good win player, and he can go out and do something. Where he really lets the field kind of come back to him. So that's the one guy in terms of, a very off the wall. He's even. He's going to be a lot of shots back unless he has a big Saturday. But you never know with weather like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing him at looks like 90-1 to win the tournament right now.
Yeah, you're going to get. I mean, it's very conceivable going. You see him in triple digits.
Yeah,
but I just think that. I know I'm harping on it, but when you have weather like that, it's so wide open because you just don't know. It's like playing two different courses. It's the leaders may be seeing something where other guys are not subjected to it, and it just changes the entire complexion of everything.
I guess I should ask you, we'll kind of wrap it up here, but about Brooks. I mean, we talked a little bit about him. I mean, obviously had an incredible round yesterday. Hadn't been playing very well. Has this whole publicized diet where he's lost, I think it's like 20, 30 pounds in the last 3-4 months, not hitting the ball as far as he used to, but had an incredible round yesterday. I mean, what did you see of him? I mean, obviously he's got a great shot at this. Can he keep his run going from last year?
It's incredibly impressive. I mean, I'm not a big Brooks guy. I didn't like him this week at all. And you got to give credit to the guy because he obviously has – I don't think that golf is a sport where flipping the switch like the Warriors can do is really applicable. But he's as close as you can find that he seems to find something. I mean, his ability – he's driving at 330, 350 yesterday, no problem. He has a game plan, which is pound it off the tee. You have short clubs in and make your, inside 10 feet putts. And obviously, when you can do that, it's great. Now, today, he's doubled the par 5. He bogeyed another hole. Of course, he's still, not even in the thick of it. He's one of the leaders still.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see. I mean, there's going to be plenty of guys that shoot a 67 in this tournament and don't contend. So more power to him. Scary guy. I have a feeling he falls back a little, but I have been wrong on him many a times before. Yeah,
it seems like I have too. I was not super high on him this week either. And
he's just, I mean, again, it's really tough. I liked him at the Players. I loved him at the match play.
Yeah.
And it just, he lost to Hao Tong Lee, Tom Lewis group. I thought that was such an easy group for him to get at him. It was Noren. He was unable to do that. But he comes here and obviously he's off to a fantastic start. It's going to be another guy. We'll see how he responds today. He could end up falling back and being tied with a bucket load of people, or he could be like Bryson possibly, and they could separate themselves from most of the pack.
Yeah, I'll be really curious to see how he plays today. Like you said, it looks like he's given one back today so far. He's had a couple of blow-up holes, but got a little bit back. Just somebody who you're not going to get great odds now. It's probably not worth betting it now by any means, but just an interesting story and just kind of see where he ends up going into the weekend.
It's like I said, he's just a guy that obviously he's confident. There's no doubt. And he really has a blueprint of, he knows what he wants to do off the tee and knows what kind of shots those are going to lead you to. The problem that I have with that per se, it's great. It's just if the elements don't cooperate or you're not hitting it good, you're going to get into – it seems like he only has one speed, I guess is what I'm saying. And I don't know what that does. It's great when he's firing like last week or yesterday. He's the best maybe. There's no doubt it. But I'm interested to see if he doesn't have his best stuff. Can he hold a round even type of round together, or is he going to shoot 77? That's obviously not going to get it done.
Yeah. It's an interesting point. It seems like when he's flourishing and playing well, like not to call him a front runner, but he he really plays well. And when he struggles, right? It's trying to scramble and get through, shoot 71 today, a round like that when you're not playing that well is what's key at Augusta. And really, any tournament.
Absolutely, because more power to you if you put together, 4 straight rounds where you have it. But more likely than not, there's going to be at least one round where you're kind of just trying to hang on. And early today, he's only through 4 holes. It seems that Brooks is going to be trying to do that. So that's kind of a different animal where it's not boom 350 dead center, hit it to 10 feet, make your birdie putt. This is, can you get up and down to avoid double sometimes? That's what he had on the par 5 and not able to. So we'll see. It's certainly going to be fun. Obviously, we're only a day into it, but a lot of storylines developing.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. I know, like in the poker world, we often say, like easy game when somebody, flops like a full house or something. Like I feel like with Brooks, when he just pounds at 350, drills his iron within 10 feet, it's just like easy game, man. This is just too easy for you sometimes.
Easy game, easy life for him. It makes it look like yesterday I certainly looked at that leaderboard and there were moments where I'm just thinking, why don't I play this guy? Because he just every hole it seems like he's a robot, but it works until it doesn't. Not to
for sure.
We'll see. I mean, Bryson's got a lot of that too, for what it's worth. He's another guy when he's on, you're like, this guy's unbelievable. And when his calculations are a little bit off, it can go south in a hurry.
Yeah, literally his calculations, right, with Bryson.
Truth, but it'll be obviously we'll be in Slack chat. If you haven't signed up, it's one of the many reasons to get in. We're gonna be talking about some bets, and the weekend golf is going to be some big prizes. I saw, I think on Sunday they're running a huge showdown, so even I'll have to play in that. I'm not the biggest in-game guy, but it's going to be with that weather. I think you're going to be able to get some edge because some people are just not going to factor in what you need to do, and you're just putting yourself at a huge disadvantage if you play guys in the thick of that.
Yeah, I sometimes splash around with the showdown, like I played today, but that's a good point. I mean, certainly this weekend's going to have a lot more opportunity, on the DFS side, and then always on the betting side, and we'll have content on the site, relating, directly to showdown contests, and we'll both be in Slack. We'll talk about the betting side of it as well. Any kind of last thoughts, I guess, going into the weekend? I know it's an exciting weekend for all of us. Looking forward to just watching some golf.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see it. I think, again, you want to look to guys that you're going to have to make some ifs. When you're betting long shots, you need some things to break right. But the way I'm going to try to do it is, okay, if this guy can get where he's in position, maybe 6-7 back, go out tomorrow, conditions are going to be there for scoring, and then on Sunday, see where you're at. I think the time to really make some moves is after 54 holes, because there's going to be some guys who are, again, 4 or 5 shots going out 2-3 hours early. And that's the little range that I think could be super interesting. And then the leaders, we'll see. It's not a guarantee they get the worst of the weather. It's just when you're talking about monster odds, you'll take the chance that you get lucky with the weather.
Yeah, for sure. And just getting in the clubhouse early sometimes
that's huge.
So valuable, especially as the pressure mounts with the Masters and any of these big tournaments. It's just tough.
I mean, Tommy Fleetwood, obviously, again, Brooks was just unstoppable. At the U.S. Open, he did that. He posted, and all credit to Brooks. He made multiple big putts to hold that together. And we could see that again here, where a guy is just, can you survive? Can you hang on when you go to the back in the windy, rainy conditions?
Yeah, I'm excited for the weekend. I'm going to be watching a lot of golf. We'll have some NBA going on as well. Hockey playoffs going on. Just a crazy weekend. So I'm excited.
Kentucky Derby only a couple weeks away. Early May. Get ready, people.
Yeah.
That's my favorite, obviously.
I'm looking forward to that. Have you ever been?
I've never been to I've never been to Kentucky. So
really?
No, my parents' dog is named Derby, but they have never been there either. Been to the Belmont since I live right there, but it's a great one. Obviously, we'll be doing something there. I'm gonna have to convince you to plug some horses in there in a couple of weeks.
For sure. That's it's a bucket list item. It's going to Augusta is definitely much higher on my list. I've been to the Derby a few times, and it's fun. But yeah, Augusta is like one of those things that I just want to go to more than almost anything.
That's even I'm not a huge I wanted to, but going to Augusta would be incredible.
That would be incredible. All right, well, good luck this weekend. Like you said, we'll be in Slack. We'll be talking a lot about what's going on at the Masters and certainly NBA and NHL too. And we'll hit those up next week. But good luck with all the Masters and all of our lineups and contests and such.
Absolutely.
Have a good one. Talk to you later.